Good morning. I'm Susan Even, a member of our Board of Trustees, and I'm glad to welcome you to our Sunday service this morning at the UU Church of Columbia. We are a congregation striving to embody courageous love, radical welcome, and deep connection, and we are so glad you are here, bringing all that you are and all that you love and all that your deepest commitments to a more just world for all. Welcome. We are glad to be offering a live stream of our services and would like to extend an additional welcome to those of you joining online. We strive to make our worship accessible, and those of you at home or using screen readers in person can find an accessible order of service at our homepage, uucomo.org, and we'll be providing written descriptions of any videos or images that we project. If you're on Zoom, we also have automated captioning turned on, and we'd love for you to contact us if you have any other access needs that we can meet. minister@uucomo.org. For those of you with us in person, we invite you to attend carefully to the safety of all others by leaving plenty of space, wearing your masks, and ensuring that you're greeting one another in a way that's comfortable for both parties. We'd like to particularly welcome any visitors among us this morning, and we invite you to find our guest book after the service in the entry if you haven't already, or in the chat if you are with us online. We'd love to stay in touch with you about our goings-on. Children and babies are always welcome in worship, and we have a lively children's religious education program and nursery care for our youngest ones. All nursery caregivers and RE teachers are masked and vaccinated. This week, we are worshiping together as one multi-generational community. Childcare is available in the nursery for those who need it or prefer it, and our regular Sunday school classes resume next Sunday. If you have a joy or a sorrow that you'd like spoken aloud during the service, you can write them on the yellow slip at the table to my left to be included in our time of prayer, or if you're online, please include your joys and sorrow in the chat so that they can be relayed to our worship leaders for our time of prayer. Now, let's take a deep breath, sink into this present moment, and settle in with the help of our musician.
Hello, thank you for having me. I'm going to play 3 songs I wrote for this service for Earth Day. So, first couple are lively, so feel free to clap your hands, move around, do whatever you want to get settled. Or you might get a little mud upon your shoes. You might get a little mud upon your shoes. Oh, but the trail gives you views you never see if you refuse to get a little mud upon your shoes. Oh, you might get a little sweat upon your brow. Oh, you might get a little sweat upon your brow. But climb that hill and look around. The air feels better than the ground. Don't be afraid of sweat upon your brow. Oh, you might get a little dirt across your hands. Oh, you might get a little dirt upon your hands. Oh, but the garden on the land, it wouldn't be nearly so grand if you didn't get that dirt upon your hands. It's gonna take some mud and sweat and dirt. It's gonna take some mud and sweat and dirt. Oh, you might have to get a little hurt to take advantage of this earth. Oh, it's gonna take some mud and sweat and dirt. Oh, you might get a little water on your clothes. Yes, you might get a little water on your clothes. Step into that creek and you will know nothing feels better than its flow. Don't worry about some water on your clothes. Oh, you might be a little drowsy when you wake. Yes, you might be a little drowsy when you wake. Oh, but the sunrise at the lake, it only happens once a day. Oh, it's worth it to be drowsy when you wake. Oh, you might get a couple scrapes upon your knee. Yes, you might get a couple scrapes upon your knee. Oh, but you'll feel so good and free when you're climbing up that tree. Don't worry about those scrapes upon your knee. It's gonna take some water and spirit and some scrapes. Gonna take some water and spirit and some scrapes. Oh, to give the earth its day, you gotta be willing to play. Take some water, spirit, and some scrapes. Yes, to give the earth its day, you gotta be willing to play. It takes some water, spirit, and some scrapes.
What a huge treat, Sam. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm the Reverend Molly Hausch-Gordon, the minister of this church. I am standing in the pulpit, a woman with light skin and long red hair and a floral shirt with a maroon blazer to describe myself for our blind and vision impaired members. Welcome to our Earth Day service. Like so many days, this day holds wonder and sorrow. Earth Day was first celebrated on April 22nd, 1970, as a day to honor the earth and to participate in environmental teach-ins. Since then, earth-based movements have grown in our country, and environmental awareness permeates much of our society. At the same time, the problems we face have grown as climate change, which had already begun in 1970 but was barely recognized, has had deeper and graver impacts on the earth. There are promising signs, however, because alongside deepening problems, people have been deepening their relationship with one another and working for solutions. In the process, we are healing some of the other hurts of our society. Today, we join together to hold hope and pain, to honor our earth, and to recognize how deeply our relationship with earth and work for climate justice is intertwined with everything about our lives and our spirits. This is not the work of one day to deepen into our relationship with one another and earth. This is the work of every day, but it is work that we particularly honor and lift up today. You will notice that our sanctuary looks very different than usual. You are set up at tables that are little mini churches so that you can interact deeply with one another. And Jamila will say a bit more about the community that we must build to do this work together. But you're going to be invited to engage in some of the aspects of the service at your table. So you have little tiny chalices, and you have our Joys and Sorrows stones. You have crayons if you'd like to color on your poster board or on your orders of service while we're speaking. We invite you to engage however feels comfortable for you. And so our opening words this morning, we want to involve you. And we're going to have responsive opening words, which means I will say a sentence, and then I will invite you to say a sentence in response. And these words are from the UN Environmental Sabbath Service of 1990, 32 years ago, and they resonate still today. So the response is, we join with the earth and each other. Can you say that for me? We join with the earth and each other. And so I'm going to say my sentence, and then I'm going to gesture to you and invite you to respond. We join with the earth and each other. To bring new life to the land, to restore the waters, to refresh the air, we join with the earth and each other. To renew the forests, to care for the plants, to protect the creatures, we join with the earth and each other. To celebrate the seas, to rejoice in the sunlight, to sing the song of the stars, we join with the earth and each other. To recall our destiny, to renew our spirits and reinvigorate our bodies, we join with the earth and each other. To recreate human community, to promote justice and peace, to remember our children, we join with the earth and each other. We join together as many and diverse expressions of one loving mystery. And for the healing of the earth and the renewal of all life, We join with the earth and each other. I invite you now to join in singing our opening hymn number 298. Please ensure your masks are securely covering mouth and nose. Rise or remain seated as you are most comfortable and join voice and breath and spirit together in the song. You'll notice that there are many verses and we are going to sing them all.
Wake now, my senses, wake now.
Good morning. I'm Janelle Batchelder, the Director of Religious Education here. I am a light-skinned woman with dark blonde, bedraggled hair today from running around outside in the rain. Your song spoke to me very much, Sam. And a black blazer and olive green dress. So I was thinking this week about the first time I heard about calculating your carbon footprint. I was in my early 20s, and I eagerly filled out an online quiz. And I remember how some of my answers made me feel self-righteous and smug, and others made me feel guilty and had me vowing to change my ways to save the earth. It was several years later that I learned that the whole concept of a personal carbon footprint was developed by BP Oil as part of a $200 million PR blitz to shift the focus of addressing climate change at the large corporate level or the wide-scale governmental regulation, and on to individuals and their own personal choices. And here's the thing. The problem of the climate crisis is way too big to be solved at that small a level. At best, our individual choices are a spiritual practice that help call our attention back into alignment with the earth so that we orient ourselves back to the real massive issues and solutions that are needed for the scale of the problem. At worst, they're a distraction, a consumeristic trap that only the well-off can partake in, with the added pleasure of smug self-satisfaction. The climate crisis is huge. The power that we will need to be challenged in order to make change, that's huge too. The movement that will do this work, and that I hope with all my wildest and most fervent hopes will be victorious, must also be huge. This is the biggest work of our lifetime. But there is a part of this that is very small. Not so small as single individuals and their choices, because despite BP's millions trying to convince us otherwise, we are not solitary individuals acting alone in this great wide world. But as small as a community, as small as a group of people who choose to work together in care and cooperation, as small as all of you here in this sanctuary together right now. And that part is finding ways to survive and adapt to the inevitable changes that are already in store. That at this small scale, we will learn new ways to live in mutuality and compassion with each other, to find new ways of living in a future that will likely be harder than the world we have known. And we need to start practicing that now, to learn how to be together in deep connection. And that is why we have put you in your small groups today, to look each other in the face, to work together, to share stories together, to become more a part of the interdependent web. And together, we will learn how to do very big things indeed.
We will now be lighting our chalices, the symbol of our faith in the community that holds us and the bright flame of the human spirit that unites us. Each table has their own mini chalice, and we'd like to ask someone for whom it is safe to do so to light the chalice at your table before passing the lighter on to the next table, and Jamila will help. As we do light our many chalices in the room and at our tables, I invite you to join me in our weekly words of affirmation, printed in our order of service. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to speak the truth in love, and to help one another. Now, as we continue to build our mini churches at our smaller tables and build our connection and our interdependence with one another, I'd like to invite you into an adaptation of our weekly ritual, in which we usually drop stones in water to represent letting go of that which weighs upon our hearts down into the shared love of our community. This week, we've put your stones at your mini tables, And we'd like to invite you to begin what we will continue later in the service. So later in the service, we're going to be making nature mandalas or earth altars on our poster boards, making a design out of the beauty of our world. And so we'd like to invite you to start by using those stones as you do each week to infuse them with your joys and sorrows and hopes and prayers, and then to prayerfully put them into a design around your chalice and begin making something beautiful together, because that is what we must do. So we will have a moment of contemplative music from Sam. For those of you tuning in at home, I invite you to take a moment of quiet contemplation. Imagine the burdens of your heart lifted and held by our community as you listen to the music. And for those of you in the room, it is time now to begin making your patterns with your stones, laying down your joys and sorrows into something beautiful. And if you'd like for your joys or sorrows to be spoken aloud later in the service, please do come write them on the yellow slip to my left so that we can include them in our time of prayer. Let us now join in contemplation. I see some beauty already emerging at our tables. I'd like to invite you now to take a moment to bring your attention to your heart and to the people at your table and to the people in the room and to the people with us online and to the people beyond this room in our community and to our earth, to all that lives and breathes around us. So you might take a moment if you want to, especially kids, to put a hand on your heart and imagine your heart opening to all of those people and creatures and plants. Take a moment of silence and breath as we prepare to hold one another in love as I read aloud the joys and sorrows and prayers of our community. Let's take a moment of breath and bring our focus to our hearts. Let us now join our hearts with all those joys and sorrows and prayers of our community. We have an embodied response if you'd like to use it. For joys, we do spirit fingers. For sorrows or prayers, we put our hands over our hearts. And so let us join our hearts with Dottie and Rosie and Angie, who share overflowing gratitude and joy for a hilariously chaotic visit from Dottie's son Tim with his wife and their 6 children, aged 12 to 2. Dottie reports it was a messy and loud few days of utter joy that passed far too quickly, and they are so grateful. We join our hearts with one among us who shares a prayer for a 98-year-old mother whose strength is inevitably fading. We celebrate that she enjoyed a wonderful life, and we hold in deep love the fact that she will soon be deeply missed. We join our hearts with David Luthold in sharing prayers for his niece Julie, who continues with a debilitating illness that has not been diagnosed. We wish for her answers and healing. We join our hearts with those in our congregation reaching out in heart to the Miller family and continuing to hold Rosetta Miller in healing wishes as she is recovering from a heart attack. She is doing well. She is gaining strength every day, still in the hospital for now, and we send our healing wishes. We join our hearts with Emmy in sharing a prayer for her mom, Linda, who continues to battle pancreatic cancer. All of our love and healing wishes. We join our hearts with Tom Southall in care as he hit a small professional bump at work last week, but hope and joy that it appears it will be okay. We join our hearts with Betty in sharing gratitude for the huge oak tree on her land, considering calling her place Big Oak Acres, a celebration of the earth. We join our hearts with Sarah, who shares joy that with warm weather comes the return of biking season, an activity for fun and time in nature and connection with family and friends, all the things we need. We join our hearts with Jamila, who, as Jan Weaver and Jim Carroll prepare to move away, shares fond memories of Jan, one of the first people she met here, who taught her so much about the earth and joy. And we are celebrating Jan and Jim at this last service before they move to be with family in Iowa. You will be missed so much. Love from us all. We join our hearts with Jamila as well in sharing joy for a beautiful coming-of-age retreat with wonderful youth and wonderful mentors. Blessings upon all our young people coming of age. We have so many this morning. I love it. We join our hearts with Ellen, who shares a sorrow for the history lost, particularly surrounding African-American musical traditions after she saw a film about a soul festival that did not gain the same notoriety as Woodstock did. So our prayers with Ellen. I request your continued prayers for strength for my brother Robbie, who had his first immunotherapy treatment this week and who is so far doing well with that. We hope it will be so continually. And we join our hearts in joy with one among us who got to meet and hold their first grandbaby, Lucy, in Boston. Great joy. Great joy. Oh, that was Elaine. It was Elaine. These things and so many more joys and sorrows and prayers not spoken aloud but held tenderly in our hearts, we lift up into the love that unites and transforms and sustains us. And we finish in our time of prayer with the words of the Reverend Laura Horton Ludwig, who writes, "Spirit of life, spirit of earth, spirit of all that breathes and all that is, we love you. We love this planet and its people and its beings. We love this interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. We love it all, and we want it all to be well and blessed and healthy. But we are human, and so often our love and our desire for the well-being of all is not yet enough to restrain the collective desire for more money, more power, more things. And so often, our collective acts in the service of that desire for more in ways that harm our fellow humans and the beings with whom we share this earth and the land itself. And so often, even when we would do otherwise, we feel powerless. The problems are so big, the scale so enormous. What can one person or one small group really do? Today, let our prayer be for hope and for clarity and commitment to stay in the struggle, to do the best we can each day, and most of all, to love you, spirit of earth and ocean, stars and rocks, being of every kind, our human neighbors. We pray to more fully love this glorious whole as we love ourselves and each other, for we are the earth, and the earth is us. Blessed be. Amen. And let us join in singing a beloved Unitarian Universalist hymn number 123, Spirit of Life. Sam will lead us, and I invite you to rise or remain seated as you are most comfortable. Spirit of Life.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart, all servants of compassion, oh, wind and wave.
A lot of reflections about climate change these days are full of dire predictions and despair. And these are true and understandable and deserve some of our time. But we don't have too much time left for that. It is too late in the global day to put off loving any longer. In one of the more recent Star Wars franchise movies, The Last Jedi, a resistance fighter, Rose, tells her fellow fighter Finn, "We're going to win this war not by fighting what we hate, but by saving what we love." The climate is already changing, and there is heartbreaking loss and suffering all around us. And still, our biggest work is to love. Still, we win not by fighting what we hate, but by saving what we love. And now this saving what we love doesn't mean blazing to the rescue like superheroes, Captain Planet. It means joining the collective, joining each other to love beauty forth from the wrecked places. Farmer and land regeneration activist Rishi Kumar points out that language like save the earth or save the whales is really colonizer language, assuming that nature is something separate from us and somehow beneath us or under our dominance, needing our salvation. What if instead we saw that we were the ones who would be saved? Saw the earth around us as part of us, kin for us to love. Because the more we love someone, the more we are willing to join in the struggle to remain present to their suffering. And a funny thing happens when we remain present without expectation to those we love. Healing becomes possible beyond anything we could have hoped to do or give or save. What if the pathway to healing and climate justice is at its base loving? Loving the land, the creatures, and the people more fully. What if that is what would change everything? So I want to tell you this morning that one of the most important things you can do in the fight against deepening climate change is to advocate for massive systems change at our federal and global levels. And I want to tell you that another of the most important things you can do in the fight against deepening climate change is to love each other, to love the creatures around you, to love the land, to love the plants wildly. One of the most important things you can do in the fight against deepening climate change is to worship the beauty of this earth, even as it is suffering. Worship its beauty wherever you find it, and find it in unlikely places. And perhaps that could change everything. Love it wildly, just because it is. Love it wildly because we win not by fighting what we hate, but by staying radically and rigorously present to what we love until pathways for healing open before us. We are going to invite you as the core of this service today to worship the beauty of this world with all your senses, to wildly love our earth. We've brought some of it inside for you. So my first instruction will be for those of you in the room, and then for those of you joining us online. For those of you in the room, we have tables at the front of the sanctuary with many beautiful items from our earth, some of the bounty of spring, and some dead things from the winter too, because it is all so beautiful. And I'm going to invite you to send a representative or two from your little table mini church to collect a variety of things to create an altar or mandala on your poster board. And as you do so, I want to invite you to experience this beauty of our earth with all your senses. Smell the lilacs, touch the smooth stones, hear the rhythmic clanking of sticks, see the bright colors. You can even taste the edible redbud blossoms if you'd like. And after you've experienced this beauty with your whole body, I'd like to invite you to work together in arranging these beautiful items into a design or a mandala together, a meditative and temporary work of art. Create something together that shows your wild love of the world. And we'd like to invite you to talk to one another while you work. Notice the beauty in your basket, wonder aloud at it, tell one another what you love most in nature and where you find the most beauty. Tell each other about your wild love for the world and how it changes you. Connect with one another through the beauty of the earth, because that is what can start to change things. After about 10 minutes, Sam will begin playing another song, and that's how we'll know it's time to wrap up our art making together. For those of you joining us from a device or at home, we'd like to invite you to go and spend a few moments outside, collecting some of the beauty that is right there where you live. And as you do, consider engaging that with your senses as well, seeing, smelling, touching, tasting, hearing, feeling a deep reverence for the earth blossom in your heart. Then bring in whatever you've collected and create your own nature mandala in your space at home. And when you're finished, we'd love for you to take a photo of your home mandalas and email them to me at minister@uucomo.org, or post them on our Columbia UU's Facebook page or on our UU Church Facebook page. And we'll share them all together over the course of the week. So those are your instructions. Come forth and engage the beauty of our earth and make something beautiful and fleeting and temporary and connected on your poster boards. Let's go to it.
Oh, the sun shining down in the middle of the day. Feel the heat in the palm of my hands. And I know very soon I will wish it all away. But I'll bask for as long as I can, because I know the cold days are coming. Even though winter just passed us by, cannot stop the cold days from coming, so I'll embrace what the sun can provide. Oh, the moon shining down in the middle of the night. Feel the breeze blowing at me like a fan. And I try, yes I try, not to wish the dark away. I'll embrace it as long as I can, because I know a new day is coming. Even though the moon just arrived, cannot stop a new day from coming, so I'll embrace what the moon can provide. Oh, the rain coming down, oh, it seems like days and days. Hear it fall, and I can't escape the sound. And I know from the start I have wished it all away, but I'll try not to let it get me down, because I know the new life is coming. Blooming red buds and tulips outside, cannot wait for the new life that's coming, so I'll embrace what the rain can provide. So I'll embrace what the rain can provide.
To me, one of the most beautiful things about mandalas is their impermanence. They are art that is meant to drift away. These beautiful creations you've made together are sparkling because they will wilt and dry up later today, and we will take them outside and scatter them to the wind. This is a profound message for living in a climate-changed world. Our presence to the beauty of the world, our love for it, cannot be dependent on it always staying the same or staying how we would prefer it. Things, of course, have already changed, and we must figure out how to live forward, not to cling to how things used to be. Perhaps it is not even restoration that is the goal so much as a deep reorientation that will allow the earth and all its creatures, including us, to adapt forward in a more sustainable and mutual way. Perhaps it is our willingness to flow in an ever-moving river of life that will lead us to our next version of thriving, a deeper and more universal one than we've experienced, especially in dominant culture. We don't give up just because we can't keep things as they were or restore them to how they used to be exactly. Our love for anyone or thing is always truest when it changes with those we love, as they inevitably grow and change. Our love for this world is wildest and deepest when we love it, even and especially amid its ongoing change. Loving it well as it transforms, perhaps we can be a part of turning toward mutual thriving instead of destruction. The deep ecologist Joanna Macy writes, "There is a song that wants to sing itself through us. We've got to be available." She writes, "Maybe the song that is to be sung through us is the most beautiful requiem for an irreplaceable planet, or maybe it's a song of joyous rebirth as we create a new culture that doesn't destroy its world. But in any case," she writes, "there's absolutely no excuse for making our passionate love for the world dependent on what we think of its degree of health, or whether we think it's going to go on forever. Those are just thoughts anyway. But this moment," she writes, "you're alive. So dial up the magic of that and see what changes." Dear ones, nothing goes on forever. Everything is always changing. Look at your nature mandala. It is so beautiful, and it will not stay. It will be gone soon, but it won't be lost. It will be changed. Nothing goes on forever, but the ancient Roman poet Ovid famously wrote, "Everything changes and nothing is lost." If we look to our world at the level of energy, this is certainly true. And though there have been beloved ones and landscapes and species lost to this earth, in another sense, their memory and influence and their very energy are not gone, so much as changed, transformed into something new. And so it always is, that everything changes, but nothing is truly lost. And so it is that even amid the change, especially amid the change, it is our work, it was always our work to love this world, to love our earth, even as what has been slips through our fingers like so many drying and wilting petals. Everything changes, but nothing is lost, and we are always, always riding our blue boat home. So stay present, love it wildly, and perhaps we will change into something beautifully new. Let us now sing our final hymn, number 1064, Blue Boat Home. is the time in our service when we join in the spiritual practice of generosity, remembering that it is by sharing and supporting one another that we feel most human. Our congregation is a place where we seek to love the world more fully, and our work together to grow in a wild love for the world matters deeply, now and always. We welcome your gifts towards the sustenance of our congregation this morning. Ushers will be moving through the sanctuary if you'd like to give with cash or check, and online and text giving information are available in your order of service. And we will hear one more original song from Sam Buffalo with great gratitude to his wonderful creativity for us this morning. Thank you, Sam.
Thank you to the sunset as day drifts into night, for giving us such beauty in the western sky. Don't think I could stop looking every time I see your hues. The clouds give way to show us shades of orange, pink, and blue. But I remember all of those years I didn't care, oh, that you were there. Oh, thank you to the red bud as winter turns to spring, for blooming buds so vibrant before they change to green. Don't think I could stop looking every time that I stroll by, 'cause nothing lasts forever, even the beauty you provide. And I regret all of those years I didn't care, oh, that you were there. Thank you to the flowers growing wild in the field, for giving us such joy, so great it can't be real. Don't think I could stop looking as you're blowing in the wind. Your colors sing together, for so far can't see the end. And I remember all of those years I didn't care, that you were there. Take the mountains and the prairies and the forests and the dells. Take the deserts and the oceans and the walking trails as well. And I'll remember for all of my years that I should care, well, that you are there. And yes, I'll remember for all of my years that I should care, well, that you are there.
What a gift to have such wonderful talent in our membership. Thank you, Sam, for everything today. Dear ones, go forth to love the world wildly and care for it deeply and see what can emerge. Our closing words are from the Reverend Wayne Arneson. Take courage, friends. The way is often hard, the stakes are very high, and the path is never clear. Take courage, for deep down there is another truth. You are not alone. We go with you in loving the world. Go in blessing and be a blessing to this world that needs our care. And let us sing our benediction. If you feel comfortable joining hands with the person next to you, you're welcome to. If not, make sure your hands are not available so your person next to you will know. And we will sing together our benediction. Now on leaving one another, may we give of hand and heart. Let us share our benediction lovingly before we part. Go in peace. Thank you to our online folks for joining us. Happy Earth Day.